Why most people fail before they even start. They never tell you the truth at the starting line. They cheer, they clap, they smile, and say, "Good luck." But what they don't say is this. Most people lose before the race even begins. Not because they lack skill, not because they lack opportunity, but because they never mentally enter the arena in the first place. They're physically present, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, they're already halfway defeated. Worried about what might go wrong, obsessed with what others might say, haunted by the memory of every past failure they never forgave themselves for. That is where most people live, and that is where dreams go to die. Before the first step is taken, before the first word is spoken, before the first blow is struck, they are already gone. Because the war was never with the world, the war was always within. The war between belief and doubt, conviction and comparison, vision and fear. You cannot win a war you won't admit you're in, and most people, they never even show up to their own battle. Every success story you admire begins the same way. A person stood at the edge of the unknown and made a choice. Not to leap with certainty, not to move with guarantees, but to believe before there was evidence. That's the part most people skip. They wait for signs, they wait for motivation, they wait for someone else to believe first. And so they wait themselves into a quiet kind of death. Understand this. You must believe before the world believes. Before the followers, before the money, before the momentum. You must light the fire alone. Lincoln did not have approval when he spoke of unity. He had resistance, war, division, but he also had conviction. Disney didn't have investors when he drew a mouse. He had laughter in his mind and ridicule in real life, but he drew anyway. Most people need proof before they act. Great people act until there is proof. That's the difference. But that difference begins in the quiet moments, in the space between two thoughts. I can't, and what if I do? That space is everything. That hesitation is the kill switch of destiny. Because the longer you wait at the starting line, the heavier your doubt becomes, until even the first step feels like a mountain. Most people think they're procrastinating. They're not. They're paralyzed by fear disguised as logic. Let me do more research. Maybe next year is better. What if I fail again? They dress up fear in the costume of responsibility, and they call it being realistic. But realism never built empires. Realism never started revolutions. Realism never led nations, inspired generations, or made the impossible a reality. Belief did. Unreasonable, irrational, unshakable belief. The kind that says, I know what I see, but I believe what I feel even more. And that kind of belief, it is not given, it is forged. Forged in the fires of early mornings, lonely nights, invisible progress. Forged when no one claps, when no one believes, when nothing is working but you keep going anyway. Because belief is not a mood, it's not a moment. It's a decision. A line in the sand, a vow to the deepest part of yourself that says, no matter what happens out there, I will not betray what lives in here. Most people fail because they betray themselves. They trust the world's opinion more than their own voice. They value comfort more than courage. They confuse activity with progress. They mistake delay for safety. They worship perfection and ignore momentum. And so they lose, not on the battlefield, not in the boardroom, not on the stage. They lose in the mind, in the hesitation, in the doubt, in the moment before the moment. And that's where clarity becomes your sword. Because when your vision is unclear, your movements are timid. When your why is weak, your how becomes irrelevant. You must be able to look at the chaos of your life, cut through the noise, and say with absolute fire, this is who I am, this is where I'm going, and nothing will stop me. That kind of clarity, it doesn't show up on a vision board. It doesn't fall from the sky. It's earned. By confronting yourself, by removing what no longer serves, by deciding not hoping what your life is going to stand for. Clarity is not about knowing the entire path. It's about knowing the direction. and having the guts to move in it when it's dark, uncertain, and terrifying. That's how all vision begins. It is not a picture, it is a pull. A gravitational force inside your spirit that drags you forward, through resistance, ridicule, and even failure. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't see the whole road, he saw a dream, and that dream moved a generation. You don't need all the answers. You need one undeniable reason to move. And then you move. Through fear, through fog, through failure. Because clarity isn't about certainty, it's about commitment. Commitment to a path only you can see, a future only you can build. And the world? It will not believe until you do. So, believe loud, believe long, believe so completely that the world has no choice but to catch up. That's how belief becomes clarity, and clarity becomes vision. And once you have that, nothing can stop you. And then comes purpose. Vision tells you where you're going. Purpose tells you why you can't stop. Purpose is not a passion. It is not a job title. It is not something you find. Purpose is something you build, with your pain, with your story, with every scar you tried to hide from the world. Purpose is the answer to the question, what am I willing to struggle for, no matter the outcome? Because make no mistake, you will struggle. And if you're struggling for the wrong thing, you will break. But if your struggle has meaning, you become unbreakable. Rosa Parks wasn't comfortable when she stayed seated. Mandela wasn't comfortable when he stayed locked up. Mother Teresa wasn't chasing convenience when she walked into the poorest streets of India. They weren't moved by ego, they were moved by purpose. And that purpose made them dangerous to every excuse, every obstacle, every force of doubt that dared stand in their way. You want to change your life? You want to change the world? Then find the one thing that matters more than your fear, more than your pride, more than your comfort. And pour your life into it. Because once you find your purpose, your real, soul-deep, fire-breathing purpose, you will no longer need to push yourself. You will be pulled. And that pull, it will carry you through storms that bury others. It will carry you through rejection, fatigue, heartbreak, and failure. Because people don't quit when it's hard. They quit when it doesn't mean enough. But when it means everything, you don't quit. You can't. And that's when you become dangerous. And now, discipline. The spine of every success. The proof of your commitment. The fire that keeps burning when the world goes dark. Discipline is not a punishment. It is power. The power to say yes when it's hard. The power to say no when it's tempting. The power to follow through when every muscle in your body says stop. Discipline is the great separator, the invisible line between those who wish and those who build. Everyone wants change. Few want consistency. Everyone wants results. Few want repetition. But the truth is this, your future is buried in your daily routine. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your systems. And if your systems are built on excuses, chaos, or emotion, then your future is too. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel, it asks what you've committed to. You think Carnegie built empires on motivation? You think Ford revolutionized industry on inspiration? No, they built disciplines, habits, non-negotiables. And they obeyed them. Not perfectly, not always joyfully, but relentlessly. You want to become unstoppable? Make discipline your default. Get up early, even when you're tired. Practice harder, even when no one's watching. Speak truth, even when your voice shakes. Do the work, even when the applause is silent. Because every act of discipline is a vote for your future. A vote that says, I don't just want it, I am it. Discipline builds identity. Identity builds confidence, and confidence builds momentum. And that momentum, it becomes unstoppable when paired with action. Action is the oxygen of progress. Without it, your dreams suffocate. You can plan, you can vision board, you can visualize, journal, affirm. But if you do not move, nothing changes. You don't need perfect timing. You don't need certainty. You don't need to feel ready. You need motion, even messy, even small, even scared. Because momentum favors the bold. Clarity comes in the doing. You don't think your way into success. You act your way into clarity. Start ugly. Start broken. Start unsure. But start. Because while most people are preparing, overthinking, doubting, the few are building. The few are making mistakes, learning fast, adapting faster. Action is not about control, it's about courage. The courage to bet on yourself without a guarantee. The courage to be bad before you're great. Lincoln didn't wait for a perfect nation to lead. He led into the storm. So must you. Because action is what separates those who almost did from those who actually became. And once you move, you awaken something ancient, resilience. Resilience is not bouncing back, it's rising different, stronger, wiser, sharper. It's looking at failure in the face and saying, "You hit me, but you didn't break me." Resilience is the soul's refusal to surrender. Most people fail once and write a story about why they were never good enough. The greats fail 10 times and rewrite themselves with every failure. Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times to find the right filament. Every failure wasn't a loss. It was a step, a lesson, a layer of grit. Resilience is built by walking through pain, not around it. It is forged in disappointment, rejection, fatigue. And yet, resilient people don't avoid storms, they train inside them. Because they know, storms don't break the unshakable, they reveal them. Resilience is when the world says no and you keep moving, when your plan burns and you rebuild with bare hands. It's when doubt visits and you keep your seat at the table. Because the goal is too real, the purpose is too deep. And the fire inside you, too damn bright to be extinguished by failure. Discipline sets the rhythm. Action moves the needle. Resilience carries you when both run out. Together they make you inevitable. And when all of it comes together, when belief ignites clarity, when clarity sharpens vision, when vision is backed by purpose, and purpose fuels discipline, action, and resilience, something incredible happens. You transform. You become the kind of person who cannot be ignored, the kind of person who doesn't need to announce they're coming. The world just feels it. Because you carry power now, the kind of power that comes from mastery over self. Not arrogance, not ego, but quiet, immovable presence. You don't chase the world, you command it by commanding yourself. Because in the end, the enemy was never the economy, the competition, the doubters. The enemy was always the hesitation, the excuses, the silence inside you that said, "Not yet." But now, you are done waiting. Done hiding behind potential. Done shrinking around people who fear their own reflection. Done living small to make others comfortable. Now you rise, not someday, not when you feel ready, now. Because you understand, most people fail before they even start. But you are not most people. You are the fire they never saw coming, the storm that doesn't retreat, the voice that echoes long after you speak. You are the proof, the force, the storm. You have chosen yourself. You have mastered yourself. And now, you will master everything. Start.